Business is changing and fast. With rapid change in the economy, access to information and the rise of AI and social media online, digital businesses are becoming bigger and bigger than ever. We're living in an era where traditional property investing is no longer the only route to building that generational real wealth. You may or may not have been told that investing into property was a great strategy. However, the days of needing £50,000 deposits and years of saving or waiting for the perfect market conditions to buy a house are fading. Instead, you're now seeing people in their 20s and 30s generating 5, even 6 figures a month in the property space without ever owning a single asset. You've clicked on this video because you're curious about the different ways to make money through property. And more importantly, you want to know which one is the best for you, especially as a beginner. So, if you give me some of your time, I'm going to show you exactly that. Most people fail to realize that they have a cash flow issue. You have your job and your income coming in, and you've got expenses going out. You invest the rest of your money, your surplus, into stocks, dividends, property, etc. But if you want to get out of that 9-to-5 job, you don't need to be investing, you need to be creating a cash flowing business. And that is super important to get you out of your job and your 9-to-5 as quickly as possible. Now, let me be upfront. I'm not going to sell you a dream here. Every strategy has its pros and has its cons. By the end of this video, I'm going to explain to you why Airbnb, and specifically Airbnb management, is by far the smartest and most beginner-friendly property strategy out there right now. But don't just take it from me. Take it from Nikki, one of our mentees who started with 0 property experience. She secured a maintenance contract on 60 properties while securing her first and second rent-to-rent in just a few months. Or Sophie, who started with us and has now got 3 properties under management in the first 2 months. Or Jenna, a mum of 2 who is working together with us on 2 apart hotels, bringing in £35,000 to £40,000 a month, while she's still earning more than she ever did in a 9-to-5 job and also doing property developments with her husband. These are real people and real stories. They're not anomalies. You can do this in the Airbnb game. There are several property strategies people talk about: buy-to-let, HMO, rent-to-rent, BRR, deal sourcing, and Airbnb management. Each has its own risks, startup costs, legalities, and earning potential. And let's be honest, people dive into the wrong one first. They don't think about it enough. They burn out, they lose money, or they just get stuck because they've got no guidance. That's why in this video, I'm going to break down each of the major property strategies, how they actually work, what the numbers look like, and what skills you need, and then I'll walk you through exactly why Airbnb gives you the highest returns, the fastest cash flow, and the best lifestyle, and is the best business model for beginners. If you don't know me yet, my name's Joost Mijnarends. I run a 7-figure Airbnb business alongside my mum, which we built from scratch. We manage and have over 50 properties in our portfolio now, which is a mix of rent-to-rent and Airbnb management deals. I've tried many other business models too, like many serial entrepreneurs. Amazon FBA, drop shipping, trading, crypto, and I was the first ever project management degree apprentice at Amazon. I was on a 40k per year salary at 20 years old, and I worked there for 3 years before jumping into entrepreneurship full time. But nothing, and I mean nothing, out of all those things I've tried has come close to what Airbnb has allowed me to do. Not just financially, but the lifestyle, the freedom, the location, the fulfillment. And today I want to give you a clear and honest look at why that is. Let's start by breaking down the different property strategies that you've probably seen online. So let's break down BRR. That's buy, refurbish, refinance. This is probably one of the most well-known property strategies on the planet. The idea is actually very simple. You buy a property, you add value to it by refurbishing it, and then you refinance it for the higher value, and the goal is to pull as much of your original investment out and money out as possible, and then you do it again and again and again. This is an amazing strategy, but is it actually appropriate for a beginner who just wants simple cash flowing business? When we put BRR up against our key success factors, here's what it looks like. First up, monthly recurring revenue. BRR itself doesn't actually give you the cash flow, which is going to help you leave your job and get you out of the position you're in currently. I'm never going to argue that it is not a great strategy for building wealth. However, right now, you are not trying to build wealth, you are trying to create a cash flowing business. If you rent the property out afterwards, yes, you are going to get rental income. But at that point, once you take bills, mortgage, all expenses into account, you are only going to be making £200 to £300 a month profit from each property. And if each BRR takes you 6 months to do, you would have to recycle that cash 10 times to make 3K a month profit. 10 times 6 months is 5 years. I assume that if you're trying to create a business and increase your cash flow to leave your 9 to 5 and get the life that you want, you're probably not going to wait 5 years. And also bear in mind that's just to make 3K a month profit. In our Airbnb business, we did that in the first 6 months. And then after 2 years, we were making 30K profit a month. 10x what you would be making via BRR. You can keep repeating the process over and over again, but remember, each project takes time, effort, and it's a lot of money up front. But more importantly, you need to actually have the skill set and the knowledge to identify what is going to be a profitable and a great BRR deal. Then there's the exit strategy. Anyone who actually is in the property industry knows that all the BRR, all money out deals that people talk about on the property courses are actually very few and far between. And most likely where you end up is you end up leaving 10 to 20K in per deal. Another factor, profit margins. Done right, they can be really impressive, but they're fragile. If you overspend on the refurb, have delays, or get hit with unexpected costs, those margins disappear very, very fast. Let's not skip out a big one, startup costs. To even start your first BRR, you need to purchase it generally with 100% cash to get a good deal. So you're easily looking at your first deal, 100K. Whether it's your money, investor finance, unless you're already a millionaire and you've got a lot of money, you as a beginner do not have that kind of cash lying around. So overall, I think BRR is a great strategy to build wealth, but one that demands deep pockets, careful execution, and a high risk tolerance. Now, buy to let. The concept is pretty straightforward and simple. You buy a property, you rent it out long term to a tenant. The rent covers your mortgage and expenses, and ideally it leaves you with some profit at the end of the month. Firstly, your monthly recurring revenue. Yes, how much of that do you actually keep off of mortgage payments, maintenance, letting agent fees, management fees, etc.? It technically still meets the criteria of having good monthly recurring revenue. Scalability. Yes, you can also scale this and you can build your portfolio over time, but each property requires another big upfront investment, usually a minimum of 25% for a deposit. If you're buying houses which are £100,000 to £250,000, you're looking at a quite normal deposit of at least 50K. The exit strategy. Another tick here in the sense that you can sell the property whenever you like, refinance it and pull out equity whenever you like, or just keep renting it out long term. You need to bear in mind, property is not a liquid asset. If you want to sell it by the end of the week, you could, maybe, you'd be selling it at a minimum of a 30% discount. Risk to your own capital. This is where buy-to-let takes a hit. If you have a tenant who stops paying, you still have to cover the mortgage costs and have to go through a 6-month process trying to evict them. That can be a real issue, and that's why many landlords are selling up and struggling with buy-to-let at the moment. As someone who wants to get started in property with no money, you're not really going to have the experience or the affordability to even get the first mortgage or your first buy-to-let in the first place. The earning potential and profit margins go hand in hand. And this is where it's not as exciting. Yes, you can make money from the rent and the capital appreciation over time, but in most markets, the monthly profit are so slim, especially after the interest rates and repairs. Landlords in the UK are making something like £300 profit a month after all their expenses, which is not enough for you to go quit your job and live off. And finally, the startup costs. They are not light. You'll typically need around a 25% deposit, plus stamp duty, plus legal fees, plus any kind of refurbishing or furnishing costs before you can rent it out. So you're looking at tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds just to get one property that's producing you an income. Buy-to-let ends up ticking some of the boxes, but after considering the actual returns you will get, it's absolutely not worth your time or investment as a beginner. It's not going to help you get out your job and get a cash flowing business. My mum actually did buy-to-let for around 5 years, but the profit margins were increasingly getting worse and worse thanks to government regulation, and she ended up stopping, and that's when we went into Airbnb. Let's look at another one, deal sourcing. This one's a bit different. Instead of buying the property yourself, you find great property deals and you sell them onto investors for a fee, usually a large fee. You're essentially the middle person, like an estate agent on the buying side, who does all the negotiation, the hunting, and the actual packaging of the deal. In fact, deal sourcing is actually traditionally where beginners start because they are attracted to the fact that there are not as many startup costs. I can personally really speak on this one because I did it for more about 6 months. How does it perform against our factors? First up, monthly recurring revenue. Well, not really. The deal sourcing income is one-off payments. You get paid when you sell a deal, not on a regular schedule month to month. Some months you might sell several deals and some months you might sell none. Scalability. Here's the reality. Building an investor list of people who have hundreds of thousands of pounds is incredibly hard. And for a lot of new sources, you aren't trusted at first because the industry doesn't have a great reputation. What often happens is that people either have deals but no investors, or have investors but no deals. On top of that, a huge percentage of deals fall through. The exit strategy, this is not really applicable because you don't own the property, so you can't sell it or refinance it yourself. Your exit is just selling the deal and moving on. So, risk your own money. This is a big plus. You don't need to put down any deposits or take out any mortgages, so your own money isn't actually tied up in the property. So it's definitely helping you create a cash flowing business. The main risk is your time, any marketing or compliance costs. And this makes the deal sourcing strategy quite beginner friendly in the sense that you are not committing large sums of money like you would for other strategies. Income. Yes, there is a potential for big sourcing fees. If you're good at finding high value deals, especially in commercial property or development opportunities, it's still inconsistent because you only get paid per deal sold. So I'll still give it a tick, but they can easily fall through and they're very hard to come by. Your profit margins are very high though. Your main costs are marketing, travel, compliance. So once you sell a deal, most of it is profit. What we really like, especially for beginners, is starting with a service-based model. You provide a high value or high skill set service to a client and get paid off the value of your work. That way, you're already thinking of delivering high value to high value people. Startup costs. So these are pretty low compared to most property strategies. You'll need to become compliant with insurance and regulations, maybe get public liability insurance, anti-money laundering, build a website, market yourself, and possibly travel to viewings. We're talking a few £100 to maybe £1,000. Overall, deal sourcing becomes okay. Low risk, high reward on your own money, and high earnings potential. But income can be unpredictable and it doesn't naturally create long-term monthly recurring revenue, which is going to give you the security to leave your job. One caveat here is that deal sources generally do not have a good reputation in the industry, because how are you going to convince someone that you know something is a great deal and is a good business move if you have never been on the other side of that deal and bought a property? This increases the barrier to entry because essentially trust is so limited. You have to have bought a property or done things before to help gain that trust of investors. Why would anyone buy something from you if you have never done it before? Why would they buy a house? Why would they buy a BRR deal if you've never done a BRR before? And that makes it really hard to be successful in deal sourcing. Let's break down HMOs, houses in multiple occupation. This is where you rent out individual rooms in a property to separate tenants, usually with shared facilities with a kitchen and a bathroom. This can be student houses or professional HMOs generally. The main attraction means that more separate tenants means more rent compared to a standard buy-to-let, so your income is higher. So, how will it score against some of our factors? First up, monthly recurring revenue. Yes, if you have multiple tenants paying rent each month, that will give you a stronger cash flow than having a single tenant. It also creates less risk about whether they're going to pay or not, because at least the others will cover it. Scalability. I don't think it's that scalable. When you want to grow a HMO portfolio, they take a lot of hands-on management, you need licensing approvals, and that can slow down. Exit strategy. This is similar to anything where it comes to owning property. You can sell, you can refinance, but again, property is not a liquid asset. The pool of HMO buyers is even smaller than normal, and you're only really limited to other investors. So to sell properties quickly if you need cash is very tough. And converting it back to a single let can actually mean losing money with rental income and the value of the house, because the change from single let to HMO costs so much. The risk to your capital is also a big one. Big refurb costs, big deposits, there is a lot of money tied up in that property. Plus at the moment, HMO regulations are getting more and more tight, so you're gonna have to continuously upgrade the property. Now, with your earnings, that's the great thing about HMOs. HMOs can produce high rents when properly fully managed. If all the rooms are occupied, you are going to be generating at least £1,000 more than a standard single let, which is why many investors are choosing to go with HMOs over buy-to-lets to begin with. While the income can look great on paper, once you subtract utilities, maintenance, actual turnover costs because you have higher turnovers, the net profit can be slimmer than expected. And your startup costs, these are heavy too. A deposit, a refurb to meet HMO standards, furniture for every single room, licensing fees. You're talking tens of thousands, if not hundreds of £1,000s upfront before you even get a tenant in. Overall, HMO is probably, again, not the best strategy for someone who's new to property. Yes, it can generate good income, but they are costly and complex and slow to scale. Usually, I would recommend this strategy for those who are more advanced and have the money and experience in the property industry. Now let's talk about rent to rent. Many people talk about rent to rent on Instagram, and you don't actually have to buy the property. Instead, you rent it from a landlord on a long-term contract and then rent it out again to guests on short-term stays. Why is this strategy so attractive? First up, monthly recurring revenue. That's a tick. If you set it up well, you've got consistent income coming in from guests over and over again who are staying every single month. But you need to make sure that you've picked the right property in the right location so that it is fully occupied. The issue with rent to rent is that if you want to scale, you need upfront investment. Each property generally costs you £4,000 to £7,000. So let's say £5,000 on average. If you need 10 properties to get the cash flow that you want, let's say anywhere from £8,000 to £10,000 a month, that's going to cost you £50,000 to set up at a minimum. Again, if you're a beginner, risking £50,000 into a business model is very risky, which is why we prefer a lower risk cash flowing model. The exit strategy. Rent-to-rents actually have a great exit strategy because you can implement break clauses in all your contracts. This helps you break out the property if your rent-to-rent is going south and not making the money you want. So in this case, the exit strategy is actually really good and does support the rent-to-rent model to lower your risk. The risk to your own capital. So you're not tying up hundreds of thousands of pounds, which is great, but you're still committing thousands of pounds to setup costs and fixed rent every single month, which means that if your bookings dry up or guests leave, you will owe the landlord on top of the initial 5k to set up the property. Earnings potential is great. Done well, rent to rent can generate you really good cash flow and strong monthly profits, especially with service accommodation, but it is dependent on occupancy rates and it is dependent on skill. If you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the skill, your profit margins can be pretty bad. They can also be pretty favourable. With high likely rates on properties that massively overshadows rental costs, you can be locking in profits of £1,000 per property. But this can go south very quickly if you don't have the right systems and models in place. When it comes to startup costs, these are much lower than buying a property, but not zero. You'll still have to pay for a deposit, furniture, your first month's rent, and these are all setup costs. For a decent property, you're still looking at a few £1,000s, anywhere from 4 to 7k really is where you want to be. And usually beginners don't want to sink that money and don't necessarily have the capital to do that all the time, repeatedly to scale the business. Overall, it is a really solid strategy. We used it a lot, but it does require a lot of cash to keep up with the rents and keep scaling again and again and reinvesting your profits, and not where you want to be if you want to leave your job as fast as possible. But here's the thing, what if I told you there's a property business model that gives you a steady monthly recurring revenue and is incredibly profitable and scalable? The kind of model where startup costs are so low, we're talking about a few £100s at most, and that the risk to your own money is practically zero. And yet the earnings potential and profit margins are so high and the exit strategies are so flexible that it's almost like it was designed for beginners. We're talking about making anywhere from £800 to £1,000 a month profit in monthly recurring revenue per property. That might not sound life-changing at first, but here's where it gets interesting. Once you've set up the systems and once you've plugged in some software, most of it can run on autopilot. It almost makes you feel guilty that you're not putting in that much effort for it. And remember, that's just one property. 5 properties, you're making about £4,000 to £5,000 a month. And the crazy part is, even as you scale, the workload won't increase. We put systems and software in place to actually make it easier and get more and more streamlined. And it gets even better. The opportunity of this business model is only growing and growing at the moment. Why? Because landlords are being squeezed tighter and tighter with every new piece of regulation that comes out. Remember earlier when we talked about buy-to-let landlords and they're barely being able to make any money? Well, if you factor in rising interest rates and new rules like the Renters Reform Bill, it's no wonder that most of them are throwing in the towel and selling up. Here's the interesting part. They're not just selling their properties, many of them are handing them over to new age entrepreneurs who can manage them more profitably. I'm not talking about your typical high street letting agents. I'm talking about an underrated, massively undersupplied type of management business, an Airbnb management business. So, how does it perform against our factors and why should you be doing it as a beginner? First up, monthly recurring revenue. Absolutely. As long as the property is live on Airbnb, guests are booking it and you've got income coming in every single month. So that, massive green tick. Scalability. This is the most scalable model in the property industry right now. It's one of its biggest strengths. Because you're not buying the properties, you're not leasing the properties, you can add management clients on repeat without needing big chunks of capital. Once your systems are in place, scaling becomes a matter of finding more landlords who want their property to be managed. So that's also a definite tick. Exit strategy. Another tick. You can stop managing anybody's property at any time if it's not profitable, you don't like the client relationship, you can sell your management business if you want to, you can exit a contract, you can cash out, you're not stuck waiting for a mortgage. All you need to do is hit the notice period, trigger that, which is usually around 30 days, and you can exit that agreement with that landlord. So that is also a tick. The risk to your capital is very low. You're not buying a property, you're not tying up hundreds or tens of thousands of pounds into an investment. The main investment that you have is your time, marketing, and systems, which we will help you with and bridge that knowledge gap. So that's also a massive tick. Earnings potential, this can be so high. Because you're taking a percentage of the revenue, anywhere from 15 to 20% on multiple properties, your income can grow quickly. The more clients you add, the more returns on each property you're going to get. Profit margins, these are strong. Your biggest costs are usually going to be marketing, some VAs, and then also software subscriptions. But none of these carry long-term massive costs to your business. You can exit them at any time and it's very easy to cancel. So that makes it very easy and it's another tick. Startup costs. These are so minimal compared to any other property strategies. You might need a website, some marketing materials, some basic tools for managing bookings and some compliance. So you're talking maybe £500 in many cases, but to start a cash flowing business, that is not a large sum of money. So Airbnb management ticks basically every single box. Low risk, low startup costs, scalable, high profit margins, high earning potential, and steady monthly recurring revenue. Most important, it's all achievable with a beginner's skill set. Now you can see why beginners get put off when they pick the wrong model. They are simply choosing the wrong model to begin with. As an entrepreneur, you don't want to stake your hard-earned cash for something and not see profits on the horizon. You're probably watching this thinking, I wouldn't even know how to manage a property on Airbnb. Maybe you've just finished university, maybe you're stuck in a 9 to 5 unrelated to property. Here's the good news for you. You don't need decades worth of experience or a mountain of cash. All you really need is an internet connection and the willingness to learn. Let's break down Airbnb management. Essentially, it's managing someone else's property on Airbnb or Booking.com and getting paid to handle everything without owning it yourself. You're offering a hands-off service to landlords who want more income than buy-to-lets for short-term rentals. Your role is simple. You create and manage the listing, handle guest messages, coordinate cleans, price the property, and ensure a 5-star guest experience. Most of this can be automated through software, and that's what we do. In return, you take a percentage of the revenue. For example, this property in London will generate over £10,000 a month for the landlord. We will take a 15% fee, making us £1,500 in profit. Now, we also have little upsells and things that we do to make even more money. So we expect to make £1,500 to £2,000 a month profit from this one property. So how do you do this? Step 1, learn the basics. Spend a few days understanding Airbnb from a host perspective. Browse the listings, study pricing, and see what makes a great guest experience and a great listing. We use tools like Uplisting, Price Labs, Guesty, Turno to automate messages, cleaning, calendars, pricing, all the schedules that you need to really try and run your Airbnb management business on autopilot. What I want you to do is I want you to choose your focus. This is step 2. Decide the type of area and the property type. Similar properties make operations easier and marketing simpler. For example, if you're managing a 3-bed property and you have multiple 3-bed houses, you can mix and match bookings between all of those properties when you get inquiries. A consistent portfolio builds your reputation and allows for easier and seamless booking management. Step 3 is delegate and arbitrage. Big agencies work by paying staff less than what they charge their clients. Now you can do exactly the same by hiring a skilled virtual assistant abroad. So what you do is you pay them once you've been paid by your client. Experienced VAs, often are highly skilled, cost less than a UK employee, and will be able to help you run the operations and help you scale your Airbnb management business. And they can effectively manage dozens of properties. For example, we have one VA managing 30 to 50 properties. This could generate you £30,000 in revenue while only adding a fraction of that in costs, around £1,000 to £2,000. Step 4 is reach out to landlords. Your pitch is pretty simple. You help landlords make 2 to 3 times more profit than they would from a normal rental with zero effort. You handle everything and they get paid monthly. No fancy website needed, you just get a clean one-pager or PDF is enough. Landlords are everywhere. Facebook groups, Gumtree, Spare Room, LinkedIn, networking events, even friends or family, people you've worked with. Target those with vacant or underperforming properties in the standard market and convert them to Airbnbs. Show them that short-term lets earn over 2 to 3 times more profit than a simple AST. Then you present them your management agreement. Onboard the property, get it guest ready, get it set up, connect it to your software, pricing, cleaning tools, etc. Go live, and this is how you scale the model. The model scales quickly. Impress one landlord, and they may give you multiple properties. They may tell their friends. With a few high-quality clients, you can generate a significant amount of recurring revenue to help you leave your 9 to 5. Why does Airbnb management work now? Landlords are shifting from long-term rentals to short-term rentals due to regulatory pressures, interest rates, benefits including higher revenue, tax advantages, and increased property value. For you, the upside is a stable monthly recurring income without owning the property, without setting too much risk, and having a system and a model which is scalable to grow. You can figure this out alone, but it could take months or even years. That's why we created the Airbnb Mastery Program, because we were able to do it. And we wanted to offer a structured form of mentorship to help you go from $0 to £10,000 a month with your Airbnb business. Inside the Airbnb Academy, we have 3 core pillars. 1, one-to-one mentorship. You have unlimited access to both me and my mum, who have built and scaled a 7-figure Airbnb business in the last couple years. 2, community. We have 3 weekly mastermind calls with other Airbnb entrepreneurs, one on sales and outreach, one on systems and software, and one which is general Q&A, so that you'll never get stuck. We'll dive in deep to topics and share screen to get you to grow and better your Airbnb business. The final thing we are big on is accountability. Every single student has their own personalized online dashboard to track progress, overcome challenges, and that has access to hundreds of templates and resources so that you can get the most value and hold yourself accountable. Even additional to that, we have 100+ videos of online content that give you contracts, scripts, templates, outreach documents. But that's so standard baseline that we don't even like to gloat about it, because what we're offering goes far beyond that. It is a mentorship, a one-to-one mentorship, not just the course. And that's not all. Most people start from 0, like Jenna, who we've worked with now for over 2 years and has 14 flats with us, which bring in over £30,000 to £40,000 a month. Or Finton, who has multiple Airbnbs, got himself a hotel in Blackpool and it made 15k in 10 days. We weren't satisfied with other course materials, so we invested both time and money to build our own. This includes financial planners, tracking, outreach schedulers, sales software, outreach tracking, the lot. Everything. It will help you create and scale a better Airbnb business. On top of that, we give you real community and support. Student engagement is one of the biggest drivers of success. That's why we created the exclusive Airbnb Mastermind community. You get to network with other Airbnb owners, ask questions, celebrate your wins, and just make friends. Many people say that the community is more valuable than just the course itself. What do you get when you join? You'll get an immediate onboarding call with myself, immediate access to our one-to-one mentoring calendars to book in your calls, a WhatsApp group with me and my mum, again, one-to-one. Also, on top of that, immediate access to the mastermind community and the full Airbnb Mastery program. Templates, scripts, sales docs, onboarding docs, real software tools, everything. If you want in, The best time is now. Right now, we are living in the best moment in history to start an Airbnb management business. Landlords have already started moving to Airbnb, and the government is forcing them to do this with every single piece of regulation. If you're not going to work and get paid that money, someone else will. You can either take action and build your own Airbnb business, or sit back and watch others do it and make that money. The choice is yours. Click the link in the description to book a call with either me or my team today.